Good evening, everybody. You are listening to Two Promoters, One Podcast with James Scarlett from 2000 Trees and Arctangent Festival and the organiser of the UK's third most popular festival. You can introduce yourself, Gav.
So was that like download Damnation and then Arctangent?
Sorry, we didn't plan that, did we?
Third most popular. Aye. Some of it was that was a very professional. That was a very professional intro. Aye.
Do you know what? I felt too professional. And then I bailed on it.
Right, good. Okay, I'm glad we've got that over with. I am Gavin, organiser of Damnation Festival, the world's most successful indoor metal festival, if you don't include Psycho Las Vegas. How are we, big chap?
I'm really good, mate. Yeah, having a good week. Lots going on in festival land, and yeah, feeling good.
And we've got another one of your Q&As.
Yeah, I like the Q&As. We got some mega questions today, haven't we?
Yeah, to be fair,
it's hard to choose them all.
Well, so we put that post out saying we would line up the next Q&A on the Two Promoters One Pod Facebook page and get 58 questions. We're hoping today that we can be ambitious and get through 10. We're just never going to manage it. And also, I'm being quite mindful of trying to pick different names, so we're not getting the same folk answering the questions as some other folk. Because I've done that before myself. You've submitted a question or something and it gets ignored a bit like, well, I like that. But so just to keep in mind, there probably is across all the social, maybe 100 plus unanswered questions. So we're trying to get through as many as we can. The format, I'll repeat this, that you heard this in the pod before, but I'll repeat this. The format we've kind of fallen out, the rhythm we're falling into now is you get your pod with whatever the episode content is, like your Headliners of the Future or The Agent Strikes Back, every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. on Spotify, Apple, and your podcast platforms, and then 10 a.m. on YouTube. Then the last Thursday of every month, we will also do the Q&A. So we'll have a couple of questions in every pod, and then they get a bonus pod the last Thursday coming out with that week's normal pod, and we'll get through as many of the questions, because otherwise it'll just be a bank. We'll end up sitting here in a month's time with 200 unanswered questions.
And I think you've got to ask your question again. If you're like, my question's fucking brilliant and these pricks haven't answered it, just ask it again, because it's not very scientific what we're doing to choose which questions to ask. I'm literally just scanning through going, that's a good one, that's a good one, that's a good one. It's not like these are the best 5. They're just 5 good ones. So
yeah.
Keep asking them.
And I don't know when the Two Promoters One Pod legal department and Lou's Brews legal department drew up the contract for a sponsorship that we've got, I don't know if it said he should get a plug on the bonus pod. So I think he's kind of getting these ones free. So short and sweet, lousbrews.co.uk, pod 15, go and buy yourself some sauce. Would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, let's go. I've got a lovely question here from Joe Harrington. Joe says, how much, if any, input and knowledge do you promoters have in the set list for what the bands play? Is it something that's in the contract, in general discussion, or is it completely left to the artists to play whatever they want? For example, at ATG, Bosk have said that they're performing a surprise and guest set on the Wednesday and a riff-heavy set on the Saturday. Was this something suggested by the festival, or did they decide it themselves? There is a second part to this question from Paul Stevenson, who says, what happened with Opeth playing a much shorter set and no encore? Feels like there's a bit of a story there. So I think it's quite interesting for us to just talk about, do we know what the bands are going to do at our festivals at all? I mean, what about that? I'll talk about Bosk and Opeth in a minute. What about Damnation?
I mean, no, not really. In fact, not at all. If you book a band... So, as I've said regularly, I was a journalist for a long time, and I came onto some situations where you're dealing with people in PR. Even when I've done the old podcast, people say, oh, can I see the podcast before it goes out? And that was always insulting to me. It was like, can I read the copy before it goes out? And the answer was always no. And I feel that when you go to a band and say, can you tell me your set list, or try to dictate what their set list, I always feel you get the same response, which is why I don't do it. Because bands are like, we'll decide. It's our art and we'll present it whatever way we see fit. So, no, you don't know unless the obvious example you book an album set, in which case you fucking hope it's definitely not going to be that album. There's going to be some problems. Or, like the Cradle of Filth booking this year, it is an old school era set, and I've seen some questions like, what does old school mean? That could mean your debut. Does it mean the first 3 albums? Does it mean the first 10? Cradle of Filth play a lot of music off those albums anyway. What difference is it going to make? Ask them. Ask them. Because I'm not asking them. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know Danny Filth any better than you do. Go to their social media accounts and say, what does your old school ritual set mean at Damnation? Maybe he'll tell you. And then you can tell me and we can all be happy.
That would be good to know. We're going to get Danny on as a guest, aren't we? And then
I'd love to have Danny on as a guest.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, Gav. You get very little input. To be honest, with bands that I really love, maybe bands that I've known, that I've been a fan of for 10, 20 or 30, even 30 years, it is quite tempting to ask them. So I've had the Wild Hearts at 2000 Trees, Opeth at Arctangent, even like Frank Turner's not quite as old an artist, but it is so tempting, but I can't help thinking you end up looking like a bit of a dick doing that. It's like, does Frank Turner really need me coming up to him being like, come on, mate, your best song's Worst Things Happen at Sea, can you play it for me? It's like, he's getting that every day from everyone. And just because you're the promoter of one show, I just don't think it's,
and it's what it is. It's what it gets into it as well. I mean, we just think, you're going to stick it in like a jukebox and they're just going to pop up. I mean, if it's not been rehearsed and hasn't been played in 10 years, they probably don't remember the lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did get in touch with Opeth's manager when they played Arctangent, and I was like, do you realise that the 25th anniversary of Ghost, I think it was the 25th anniversary of Ghost Reveries, an anniversary of it anyway. It's not 25th, is it? Fucking hell, I've got that wrong. 15th? I don't know. Shit, should have planned this better. Basically, I was like, it falls on Arctangent when you're playing. And he's like, yeah, whatever. You didn't book that set, so, job on.
That's cheeky. You try to get a sneaky album at them.
yeah. Album in full at no higher cost.
To be fair, and the one time I did try, it wasn't this is, or can you play this, or this would be better. Nordic Giants, when they played last year, that Through a Lens Darkly track, the one that they do with the auction tanks and getting into the water on the wheel one with the harpoon, I've seen that 12 times now, probably more, and I've seen it in some pretty ropey circumstances, like pretty shitty wee projector in a pretty shitty venue, and it's tough. The music itself, that is not in their top 20 best tracks. It's a very powerful video, but it takes up so much of the set. And I think it was at Dunk, and it was fine at Dunk, but at that time I just wished there was another 2 or 3 other tracks in there. And I'd said to the agent, I said, look, we're going to do this at Damnation, we'll open up the main stage. Do you think that Through a Lens Darkly's maybe done its time? I mean, like, a lot of that Damnation crowd will have seen it at Damnation. A lot of that Damnation crowd will have seen it several times at Arctangent. They always do it. Maybe it'd be better just to come out and hit them with another 3 or 4. And to be fair, they just went, well, I can flag it up. But they came and done it, and I have to say it was definitely the right decision, because what I never understood probably was just how much of that crowd, I mean, it was more than half that crowd had never seen them before. And when you put it in a 12-metre wide cinema screen, I mean, even I was like blown away with seeing it for the 13th time. Yeah. So there has been times when I thought, I know better. And ultimately I didn't. The band were right.
There's no fucking way that got to the band, though, is there? That's the agent. He's gone, yeah, Gav. I
was just trying to be helpful. But listen, the band knew better. They came, blew everybody away. Yeah. And like everyone who sees that for the first time, that's the one. It doesn't even matter that the music behind it isn't as powerful as a lot of the other tracks. That is the one you're like, what the fuck did I just watch there? You know what I mean? It's a powerful video.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, there's a couple of bands that are specific examples at Arctangent that I was asked about. One was Bosk. So, I mean, basically, just to remind you the question, Bosk said they're performing a surprise and guest set on the Wednesday and a riff heavy set on the Saturday. Was this something suggested by the festival? And basically, no, it wasn't. Tom from Bosk is a good friend of mine and Gav's, and he's kind of a guy with a lot of ideas, and he basically just told me, right, next year I'm playing Arctangent, and we're going to play twice. And we're going to play Wednesday, and then we're going to have a party on Friday, on Thursday and Friday, and then we're going to play Saturday. And he's basically got his whole weekend planned out. He's got his tour bus, and he knew early on. I don't want to give away any of his surprises, but yeah, that is basically what they're going to do, and it's going to be amazing. And I think it's cool. You don't want to see Bosk do the same thing twice, and they're going to. The Wednesday is going to be totally unique. You're never seeing that Bosk set again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be cool. And the Opeth question. So just for anyone who wasn't at Arctangent, Opeth on the Clash Finder had a 2-hour set time. They started at 9 p.m. and at 10:30 they finished. Right, 90 minutes later they finished and they walked off, and everyone went, "Oh fuck, why have Opeth finished early?" But basically, what had happened is I asked the agent, "How long do you want to play for?" And he said 2 hours. So I booked them 2 hours, and this was months before the festival. I always ask the headliners how long they want to play. I don't ask anyone else how long they want to play, but headliners give them what they want within reason. And it turns out they changed drummers, and the drummer only knew an hour and a half's worth of songs. So I got radioed during the day on Saturday, being like, "Opeth are playing for 90 minutes. What do you want to do?" And I went to the sort of artist liaison office, and basically the discussion was they can either start on time and they will finish half an hour early, or they can start half an hour late and finish at the curfew of 11 p.m. But and my thinking was, well, if we have technical issues and we've just sat there for half an hour letting them start late, we're going to be gutted. So get them on, just get them on.
And
Get them on,
no one
early.
likes to wait. No one likes to wait. If you've ever been at a Guns N'
No.
Roses show, you do not like to be standing in a field waiting for something to start that's not happening.
Yeah. So there was nothing I could do about that. They literally had no more songs to play. That was them all. So they played them all, and it was actually one of my career highlights having Opeth at Arctangent. So it didn't really bother me, and I think the fact that I knew was good.
And to follow on with Opeth, on the last a couple of podcasts ago, you were going to go into the situation with Opeth and we're kind of short on time about what happened during the day. Is that something you want to go into now, or have you had a moment of clarity?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, basically. So during the day, Dave, my production manager, who's a fucking legend, and I is just so great. I kept seeing him looking really stressed. So basically, I'm not really working. I'm just hanging out, watching bands. Some of them from out front, and some of them from the side of the stage. And whenever I'm on the side of the stage, I can see Dave looking increasingly worried. And I asked him what was wrong, and he said, "Don't worry about it. I'm dealing with it." And then a couple of hours later, I said to him, "Just tell me what's going on." And he's like, "Well, we've we've lost Opeth's keyboard, and we've lost one of Opeth's drums." And basically, we had this big delivery of backline, which goes to 5 stages, and someone, it's not. I don't really know whose fault it was, but it went into the wrong place, and it was basically lost. And like the keyboard, right, is absolutely 100% essential to the Opeth sound. Now, maybe you can get them to get another drum kit, but you cannot get them to. You can't. You need a keyboard, right?
Yeah.
And it needs their spec keyboard to make all sorts of fucking sounds. So I was like, said to my production manager, Dave, "What's the worst case scenario here?" And he said to me, "It is that they don't play." And I was
Fucking
like,
hell.
okay, fuck me. I mean, it like stopped my heart.
Yeah.
The headliner might not play. There's no contingency for that.
And what time of the day are we with this point that you found out?
I mean, this was probably about 3 p.m. I think. I honestly don't actually know. It was in the daytime. So it was basically like all hands to the pump. So we had a team of people on the phone trying to get replacements, and we had a team of people running around. And actually, the keyboard ended up turning up. It was just that the backs of stages are very dark, and our main stage is massive behind it, and it's pitch black in lots of areas. And some dickhead had just fucking put the keyboard under something, and it was there all along. So that got found, but it was quite a dramatic couple of hours searching for it. But the drum, there was actually an error had been made, and I don't think the drum ever existed. So me, Dave, and Sarah went up to the Opeth dressing room, and basically, I waited outside while Dave and Sarah went in, and just said to them, "We fucked this up. Please don't fucking kick off." And we bodged the drum kit together for them, and no one knew.
Right.
So,
Okay. And I take it, what did Dave and Sarah say? Were they okay with it? They're like, oh fuck, that's no great, but
yeah,
okay.
and I don't think I'm quite giving you the level of drama here. There were tears when this all got sorted. Like, not from me, but there were tears. It was so. It felt like we were in deep shit here. It was one of the most stressful, closest to disaster situations I've ever had. And basically, their whole drum kit is it's like a double bass drum. I'm not a drummer, but it's a double bass drum setup, and the kit is built specifically. I understand it needs the right size, right spec size, whatever bass drum to build the rest of the kit around, and we didn't
Yeah.
have it. We had one of them and not two. And anyway, I'm fucking hope the manager's not watching because he probably doesn't even know. Neither does the agent.
Well,
But yeah,
the manager's definitely watching. I can tell you that much.
great. Hi, Andy. But we sorted it, and to be honest, they're some of the nicest people I've ever dealt with, and they were not at all worried. But we
Yeah,
didn't have to pressure them. We didn't have to pressure them. We basically said we fucked up, and they were like, okay, we'll make it work. But if
because
that was like Dave Lombardo in Slayer, he'd have been like, I'm fucking Dave Lombardo. I'm not playing. I
aye,
mean, maybe he wouldn't, but Lars Ulrich, he's not playing, is he?
aye. It's
You know,
it's well drinks my. I've never actually heard that full story. I kind of get the gist of it. You came into one of the tents and you said, I'm going to talk to you later. You were chalk white. I'm going to talk to you later. It's resolved, but I'm still processing it. That's what you said to me. I'm still
yeah,
processing it, but I just need an
yeah.
hour or two. Just thinking. And then he said later, he goes, mate, we lost bits of Opeth, and it looked to all intents and purposes like they could pull out like this fucking huge band headline your festival. And I'm glad you managed to resolve it. But that's absolute. Oh, that kind of stuff can keep you up at night.
Yeah, it's made my heart beat faster. To be honest, I didn't enjoy. I didn't enjoy
I
talking
did
about
not enjoy recounting that story at all.
Have you take us somewhere else, Gav? Have you got a question?
Taking someone else. I really like this question. This is one of these sort of nerdy ones that I'm actually quite keen to hear what your answer is, because I think after almost 20 years of doing this, I still don't really know what the correct answer is. Maybe speaks to the whole Wild West mentality. So of booking bands. So Greg Alexander Neville, how long do you normally wait for responses from bands and agents, both for the initial reach out to the final contract signature? The naivety in that. Being that you approach each fest with a specific budget in mind, how long will you sit in thousands of pounds before you say fuck it and move on? Yeah, I'm especially curious about one-off shows and specials. So quickly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the timeline is or that process. I've found that it varies wildly, agent to agent, how they see an email or phone call, how things are left. I mean, I don't want to go back on about Nordic Giants for us last year. I offered for Nordic Giants and then dealt with that same agent, hello Hayden, for a ton of bands, Lepers, Enslaved, Julie Christmas, and we tied up all those deals. And we'd done so much. I completely forgot about the fact that I'd offered the Nordic Giants and went on merrily booking up the festival to the point there was no slot for Nordic Giants. And Hayden came back and said, I finally got a hold of Nordic Giants, I'm ready to do it. I mean, this is like 4 months later. And I was like, I don't have a slot for Nordic Giants anymore. Like, I completely forgot we'd done it. I mean, like, how many times you do deals like that? And he goes, man, you really need to give me a deadline. Which you're saying, technically, maybe, but I mean, come on, how many agents leave you sitting for months and months and months waiting for a band and you phone them up saying, what's happening with that death metal band? Oh, no, they can't come this
Yeah,
year. Like, fuck, well, let me know because I'm holding slots, you know what I mean, left, right, and centre. So,
yeah.
I don't, there's no hard and fast rule of like, an agent's answer would be, oh, well, you need to tell us when the deadline that you'll wait until. But the answer is for the promoter side is like, there is no real strict deadline because if you know for a fact you're going to get that band, but they'll tell you yes in August, well, it's August. But you don't want to be holding a slot for a black metal band until August when it turns out they're not going to be there at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I put a deadline in all my offers just so that I can pull out if I want to. But for me,
How long's the deadline when you go for a band?
the 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. So I mean, sometimes as short as a week, but usually 3 or 4 weeks. And very few people hit those, but at least once they've missed them, you've got the option to go elsewhere. But For me, the way I book is I get all my ideas together, and on any given day, I will make like 50 offers in one go. And then, so 50 offers will go out. And with the lower slots and even the medium level slots, I'm relaxed about them chugging along in the background. But with a headliner slot, that's the ones you've really desperate, the really main stage headliner, you're desperate to get in, and there's only 3 of them, and they are critical to your success. And the eternal question is, how long do you wait? So there are some bands. Just working out which band names to mention that I've tried to book. Let's talk about Gaslight Anthem. They're playing Trees this year. I've tried to book them many times over the years, and they did want. The agent was like, they will play 2000 Trees eventually, but this is not the year. And so it's not like I was getting strung along. They're just making their plans, and I'm happy to wait because I trust the agent. I've got a good relationship, and I know he's not fucking about. There are some agents you can send an offer to, and it's not gone to management. It's not gone to the band. They don't really know you, particularly when there's often American agents booking bands in the UK. They don't know the festival well. They've never been to it. They're based in the US. You're getting strung along. So what's your relationship? How long are you prepared to wait? And for me, the critical time is I need all my headliners booked for January, really. But if you wait and wait and wait, so I'm already making offers now in April for next year. If you wait and wait and wait, the other bands, your second choices, third choices, fourth choices, get tied up at other festivals on exclusivity, and you lose them. So at 2000 Trees this year, there was a late headliner, right? The band ended up being Don Broco, and actually I spoke to Don Broco months earlier, and they told me they were recording, and it's not a thing. We'd love to play 2000 Trees, not this year. And then I went off and did my thing, and I was basically just hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, and just bands stringing me along, and then nothing happening. So I just went back to Don Broco and was like, here's some more money. Can you change your plans? And eventually we got to a point where it was, I guess, was worth their while to slow down the recording of their new album, I think, to come and play 2000 Trees. But what happened in that process is I am talking, at that point, I'm in panic zone, right? I need a headliner, and I'm talking to multiple bands, and I'm not waiting ages on each band because I feel like everyone's fucking me around at this point. And even with agents that I get on really well with, I'm just like, you've got a week, and if you don't give me a week, I am going to make this offer to someone else. And so I'm just constantly
what you don't do,
almost double offering on the headline slot.
So what I wouldn't do, because I want to find myself in this position, I won't offer the same slot to 2 bands at the same time, never mind 3, 4, or 5, because in the likely scenario that would happen, 3 bands get back to, even 2 bands come back to you and say, yes, that's it, spoken with the band, spoken with the management, they're up for it, and then you need to go walk back and say, actually, I'm going to go with another band. Thankfully, I've never had to do that because I've never done that. But that becomes time consuming too, because what happens is, well, I know what you're saying about the string along, but it can be a case of, I'm just waiting in the band, and you sometimes with an agent that you got on okay with, they probably have asked the question, or they've definitely asked the question, but the band are just slow, they're on tour, they're dealing with something else, they're in the studio, and they're a bit like, right, okay, and then they'll say, do you want to put a deadline on it? And you're like, fuck, wait, lose the band that I'm desperate to get because of some fictitious, like, I'm making up my head, because ultimately, as long as you can tell me they could confirm in 4 weeks, then I can wait 4 weeks. But me telling you the end of the week is when the deadline needs to be. But maybe you're right, actually. Maybe it's not been a huge issue for me. I mean, Northern Giants is pretty much one of the only ones I could really think about. It does sit in that grey area. And what happened last year was there was a death metal band all but confirmed almost across both days for sex. And it seemed like it was, and then it just went quiet. Then it was quiet for a week, and then 2 weeks, then close to a month, and then it was like, are we ready to go with this, confirm this, like put this in the poster? Oh no, they're not coming over now. And you're like, fuck's sake, you just drop me an email and tell me that, because that's a long time that I've been holding those slots. That, as far as I was aware, that's not me saying, oh, the deadline's here, that's the agent just not coming back and saying, oh, by the way, change your plans.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, and just to reiterate, because we kind of contradicted each other a second ago, I don't double offer really ever on slots, but but I was very kind of right on the grey area this year with all the Final Trees headliner, because I was basically like, I need a headliner.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get one. And I've got a list of like 15 bands that are all kind of like, oh yeah, maybe, yeah, well, it's not in our plans, but if you pay us enough money to fly over, we'll, so I'm like, we haven't got time to do a month with you and then a month with you and then a month with you. I just need someone to be, yeah. So it all worked out really well in the end, but yeah, that bit of it is stressful. And waiting. So there was also a really massive, uber big band, which I'm not going to tell you the name of. Let's just say it's 9 Inch Nails, but it wasn't. This year at 2000 Trees, who had kind of shown an interest. And I really held them a slot for months and months and months, because I thought there was a chance that the Holy Grail booking was going to come off at 2000 Trees, even though I knew it wasn't. I was just kidding myself, but I couldn't resist waiting.
Just lying to myself, but I like the fantasy of it.
maybe one year, but the sort of second part of that question was about bands that don't play much.
Yeah,
I think, and I'm like, I need encouragement in that situation. I'm not going to wait a long time for Botch or Sleep or the Mars Volta, because they're not playing often enough. I need someone to say to me, I need a manager or an agent to say to me, this is actually a thing that might happen. If it's just like a speculative, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure if the band are even going to do anything. Are they even a band? Do you know? There's a lot of bands out there. No one, even their agent, doesn't really know if they're a band anymore.
Yeah,
and I'm not waiting on that, because it's just a waste of your time.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done that at all levels, and sometimes it's paid off. I mean, there's definitely been bands that I thought, well, they're not going to come back and do this, and then you end up you strike gold from. So, it's interesting, but maybe that's, you know what, I always just feel like it's a bit. I mean, you go into these conversations with agents as well, and they can get spicy enough as it is. What you starting like putting lines in the sand and deadlines, and that's maybe the way I've approached it for too long. It's a bit like, I'm not putting it, I want your band to play, so I'm not telling you do it by this date or else I'm no longer interested. But maybe that muddies the water a wee bit in some occasions, where a bit like, yeah, well, you never told us a deadline, and we thought we could take 4 months to come back to you on the fucking opening slot for the main stage. So this one's on you. So there's something I've learned for this podcast. Deadlines and all future offers. Next year's damnation, 0 bands.
It does help.
What you got for us?
Recommend it.
What you got for us?
Okay, next.
Yes, keep them going.
This guy called Rob Scarlett, who's actually my brother, has asked a question. What do you mean by finding a niche? Did Trees ever find a niche, or did we just do what we were excited by and take inspiration from other events? Can you define originality? I believe originality to be a spectrum, not a destination. You brushed on the subject in the previous episode, but it feels somehow unsatisfactory to me. Now, fucking pretentious way to ask a question, that, isn't it? I think you said to me, Gav, what did you say? I love the brotherly disdain that's in that question.
He posted one, right? And listen, right off the bat, right, I know I come from a Glasgow housing state that had too few many murders for me growing up for my liking, right? And I know your family's probably related to Prince Andrew in some way and come from like your whatever manor you guys live in, right? But my brother ever says to me, I believe originality to be a spectrum, not a destination. I am going to punch fuck at him, okay? And I know for a fact my mum and dad will agree.
Brilliant. Lovely. I like it. Well, just in case anyone's wondering what he's even talking about, in a previous episode, we kind of, what did we do? We talked about festivals needing to find their own niche, and Rob didn't feel that we adequately sort of justified that. And I've had to think about this, and I'm now ready to go. Ready
to explain to Rob.
Yeah, I think I guess basically there are loads of identikit festivals out there. This is my thing. There are loads of identikit festivals out there. Particularly these indie pop sort of indie rock / pop festivals. They're all the same, right? They've all got the same bill. They're all about the same size. They've all got, they're all headlined by fucking Noel Gallagher and the Kooks, and I don't know, whoever. And everyone comes and gets drunk and jumps around at them. And look, if you like those festivals, then great. I'm not really criticizing them, but they are not unique, and they haven't found their own niche. I think this is starting to creep into the rock world and metal world a bit, where there's festivals that are basically being, I want to be like Damnation, rather than just being like, can I find something new? So when I talk about a niche, I mean, I don't mean you're reinventing the wheel, but I mean, are you finding your own place in the musical landscape? Because this is about what genres you're putting on, really. It's not about, is your festival indoors? Is it outdoors? Is it sort of 70,000 cap or whatever? And I made a list of what I think of the top 7 rock festivals in the UK. Download, Slam Dunk, 2003's Arctangent, Damnation, Outbreak, Bloodstock, right? All of them, you could make a very nice Venn diagram, but they are all different. They've all got their own thing. You couldn't accuse any of them of ripping off another one. They've all, they like, look at Outbreak. I don't know how long it's been going, but not as long as 2000 Trees. It's totally got its own thing. 2000 Trees did not copy Slam Dunk. It's got its own thing, and there's an overlap, but we're all doing our own thing. And I think Rob is poking me a bit and basically saying, we didn't really do that at 2000 Trees in the start, did we? And it would be reinventing history to say that we knew what the fuck we were doing when we started 2000 Trees, because we didn't. And we were booking Metronomy and we were booking Bombay Bicycle Club alongside, In Me and Frank Turner. And it was all a bit hodgepodge.
Yeah.
And eventually we worked out, no, we like rock music. Why the fuck are we booking Bombay Bicycle Club? Let's book rock music. And that's when 2000 Trees started to develop an identity. And,
I get the feeling that Rob listens to the podcast and he's a wee bit, it's like, this is actually quite a good podcast, but he is definitely still a prick, right? and I like to think that Rob doesn't think that about me. And he's like, it's just a brotherly thing. And otherwise, he'd quite happily see you getting ditched off this podcast and being someone else. But otherwise, he quite enjoys it. But I did see one post when one of the episodes on it, and he posted underneath it, nice to see James finally admitting that Tree's success is because of the vibe and not because of the bands. And at the time, I'd never understood, what does he mean about, because James's role is to book the bands, so you take the credit for selling the tickets, when it's clearly nothing to do with the band, James.
Yeah, he's the vibes, man.
He's the vibes.
You see the pretty things at 2000 Trees, the site decoration and the amazing forest stage and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, you flagged that question up to me when you got it, because you probably do your due to give your brother a good kicking for describing it like that, to be honest. But I went and I looked, I said, I wonder what the Oxford Dictionary's description of niche is. And it is a specialised segment of the market for a particular kind of product or service. We picture beside it, Damnation, because that is exactly what that is. It's a specialised product for a niche part of the market. And then you're right, it's not even about reinventing the wheel, because we didn't. But if you were to come to Scotland and put on a post-rock all day, it'd still be a niche event. You know what I mean? Because you're in already a niche market with that music, and then you're doing something more niche coming to Scotland and putting on a post-rock all day. So it's not about trying to say that, you're doing something that's never been done before. But Rob, keep them coming, mate. I like to see that side of James.
But yeah, but I give a shout out to Outbreak. They, their first day this year is like hip hop or Radar Festival. They put the Midnight is a headlining. It's like they're basically, those festivals have gone, well, let's try and do something different. It's just like Arctangent's gone off at various different tangents over the years. You must be the only promoter in the world that's ever got a metal festival that they started booking bands like Maybe She Will and Dinner Celestial Birds on. It's like, that is a unique thing.
I mean, at the start, I've answered that question before. I mean, 2009. I mean, Jesus, now it seems it's a little bit more normal, especially with your Arctangents kicking about as well. But I have Shells and This Will Destroy You and So Watch From Afar on with Carcass and My Dying Bride. I hadn't seen hadn't seen festivals that kind of done that before at any real level. Maybe I'm sure there was some. Pukkelpop maybe would be a good example. Or just they go all the way to the pop end of the spectrum, right back to Napalm Death. So again, no try to claim it and reinvent the wheel, but aye, it was it's and look how normal that's become. I mean, we have for years, even from the bands we're trying to book. Fuck, no playing a metal festival, no playing a metal, and it is Damnation is a predominantly extreme metal festival, but I mean, you go to any post rock show that's happening. We Lost to Sea would be a perfect example. Played twice in one year and packed the venue twice the same year. I mean, couldn't be any more different sounding the Carcass if we tried.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, I'm sticking to my guns basically. In conclusion, Rob, I do think we have a niche. Damnation, Arctangent, and Trees all got their nice little thing going on.
In conclusion,
So, yeah.
Rob, get it right, run you.
Right, Gav, what you got for us?
What is that? Right, okay. David Moz Morris. What would you both say are the greatest triumphs and biggest fuck ups of your respective festivals? Want to go?
Yeah, go on then. I mean, it's pretty hard not to go cheesy when you ask me my greatest triumph, but I mean, I think basically at Arctangent, just getting a camping festival off the ground with that sort of lineup is which is something different. It's totally there was no camping festival anywhere in the world, I don't think, that was booking the lineup that Arctangent booked in 2013. I remember sitting in Simon's car and basically going, we let's start a new festival. And me saying to him, well, I had this idea, like maybe She Will and Torch from Afar, 65 Days of Static. They're all really popular at 2000 Trees. Why don't we build a festival around that end of it? And him being like, is anyone going to come? And me being like, I don't fucking know. And then just emailing some people we knew to be like, do you think this is a good idea? And they were all like, yeah, because we like those bands.
Yeah, go on. You do it, mate. You do
it. Basically, greatest triumph is fucking that has actually succeeded and people love it and it's getting bigger every year. It's still growing. And that mad idea we had is actually a real thing. And then, I think equally cheesy, if you just listen to how we started a festival, but 2000 Trees was really best mates getting drunk in a field, coming up with a mad idea and just fucking doing it. And so rather than being like my greatest triumph is booking out the drive-in or Mogwai for our 10th anniversary, I just think pulling it off is pretty like, sometimes when I step back, I know this sounds like I'm patting myself on the back of it, but it's like a really hard industry to get into. It's a hard one to keep going. Hard not to end up being one of the cancelled festivals that we talked about last week. And yeah. So that's like a cheers to me, yeah. But
yeah, well, listen, he was going to ask the question. You what hit is we your biggest fuck up? Was that?
Well, look, I think we've got a full episode on this. Basically, there's like millions of things we could talk about on this, and we've already done 2000 Trees. No pit barrier, no backline. Training to be a security guard, all of that early days was just fuck up after fuck up. Arctangent, for anyone who came to Arctangent in the early years, we used to have this mad main stage. It was like a massive white spider thing. And getting that stage was a stupid fucking idea from the first moment we did it, because firstly, the stage is way too small for the bands to do anything production-wise. And secondly, it takes forever to build. And it's really hard to build. And if it's windy, you can't build it. And if it's wet, it's a nightmare. Basically, that stage was a fuck up. And people were a bit sad when it left, but none of the organising team was sad when it left. That stage, the only good memory I have of that stage is Greg from Dillinger
Jumping off
climbing it and launching himself off it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it either landed on me or landed next to me. That was what a set that was. You know what?
Amazing.
It does. That's one of those ones that, like, see people have the romanticism about Leeds, and and you think when you were there and how much people hated it and locked out of rooms and the queues and all the problems we had Leeds and could never put any production in main stage, and then you leave and I was like, oh my God, do you remember how great Leeds was? And like, oh no, do you remember how great Leeds wasn't when you actually were there and you wanted to go and see Abduction, you couldn't get in the room. So I think that tent's got a wee bit of that
Yeah,
romanticism about it. For Damnation,
absolutely.
it's weird, nothing jumps. When you say that straight away, like, oh, biggest fuck ups and big, like, thankfully, nothing actually just screams off the page like, oh, it'd have to be that. So I gave it some thought, and to be honest, I think the biggest it didn't feel like a triumph at the time, but in hindsight, when you look at it, when we were in August 2021 and just coming out the pandemic, or trying to come out the pandemic and the grey area sound and everything, we had a lineup that was Wolves the Throne Room, Pig Destroyer, Blood Incantation, Morn, Abigail Williams. I mean, it was three quarters American. And by August, they were still saying they were playing in that November. And then just suddenly, one by one, the first tour went, they all started going. And then we're like, Pig Destroy, we kind of hold on, we'll still fly over it for a. And then they went, and they're like, shit, right, so we're in August, and we've got no event. It's sold out. Like Damnation 2021, sold out in March. By August, nothing. Like nothing. A handful, a couple of bands at the UK. And within a few weeks, we got Carcass and Paradise Lost doing Gothic and Conjurer and Gamma, no Gamma Bomb, they were already done the poster, but Party Cannon. And I just filled it back up. But not even that, it like really went got big names. Like Paradise Lost doing Gothic was fucking incredible, and Carcass come back and done it absolutely incredible. And I managed it, and then it was weird because then you got a lot of people like, this lineup's even better now. And now it's sold out, and I want to get a ticket. Like Paradise Lost doing Gothic's like one of my dream sets, and it's already sold out at the time. And that was a weird negotiation with those bands because I was going to like Carcass and Paradise Lost saying, "Listen, guys, I'm trying to book you for an event that's completely sold out." So in this weird situation where you can't even sell any tickets for me when you come and you announce this. I'm just trying to hold together a festival that's already done all the ticket sales. That
Yeah.
was that was utterly bizarre. And I remember at the time there was a bit of a fuck up with that one as well because Carcass were still on the Behemoth tour that I think behind the scenes has already been cancelled. And the agent knew it was cancelled, but it hadn't publicly been cancelled. So then we went, UK exclusive. And then people were like, what about these other 6 dates that are still on the poster?
They're going.
The agent at this point is going, fuck Gav, man, we've completely shit with this, we've made a mistake. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't, the poster's out. I mean, like, say, I was only kidding on, Carcass aren't playing. It's like, I don't want to fuck, right, okay, we'll fucked it, I suppose. So we're just going to need to see it through. And when the last in the pandemic, everyone is scrambling for stuff to do. Let's just chalk this one up to an honest mistake. But that was something in hindsight. I think you need to sit there and be like, you know what, well played to all involved, including the bands and the agent space. It was easier for some bands just to be like, you know what, it's been a couple of years of shit shows. We'll just wait till 2022 and actually get out this properly. Because I mean, how many of those tours were reorganised and cancelled, reorganised and cancelled, reorganised and cancelled? It felt like it just never ended. And some of the agents and managers must be like, let's just make sure, because you never knew by November whether we were going to go straight back into our lockdown. No, it seemed to be happening every other couple of months. So fair play to that. That was definitely, in hindsight now, one of the success stories. And I mean, a big fuck up. I don't know if it was a big fuck up, but it was certainly a financial fuck up. 2009 did not sell anything like the tickets it should have sold with the lineup it had. And about a month out, we already knew it was going to be like, I don't know, we'll probably get to the 1,500 ticket mark after doing almost 4,000 a year before with Carcass's return. And I could have downsized the venue because I used the 3 small stages and not went into the refectory, which is the most expensive room because it needs all the production brought in for it because it's just a canteen otherwise. And we didn't. I stuck to my guns and thought, right, okay, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And then I lost that. I think it's about 13 grand. Lost that at that time as well for the size of the budget of a festival. Because I mean, that's the budget size of the festival back then was fucking would barely get you a couple of tents outside the arena now. You know what I mean? So 13 grand was quite a lot to lose from it for those ticket sales, which I'm sure if I'd just downgraded and never sort of stuck to my guns but try to keep it that way, I could have probably saved it or maybe even made a couple of grand at it. So that wasn't a fuck up as such, but in hindsight, again, probably was it really worth forcing that main stage when I didn't need to?
But maybe that's the reason you're still here now. You don't know because you put on the event that people wanted to go to. And don't know.
I know, and you promised those bands that your Life Agony, Therapy played that year on the main stage, Electric Wizard, and that. He said maybe if they'd shown up and they'd got a much smaller stage that they weren't supposed to be playing, they might have been a bit like, right, okay, this is an event that doesn't do what it says it's going to do. So, you might be right. Maybe there's some good to come for that that 30 grand, 13 grand experiment. And that was the first and only time we lost money until 2022. So, I mean, it's been a decent average, but let's hope that's those years over with, eh?
Fucking right. Yes, absolutely. Okay, next. Thomas Pablo Cirone. Sorry about my pronunciation. How do you secure the future of your festival team-wise? Like if you fall ill or for some reason cannot continue your job, are you preparing anyone to take over from you?
So this is a guy from Gold, the band
Oh, is
Gold.
it?
Aye, this is a number one. So they're Dutch, aren't they? Gold are Dutch. I should really have known that before I said it.
I fucking hate you for asking me.
I think so. So this
Ryan,
is not
edit this out.
the one download we get in Holland. It's from this man.
I don't think they're Dutch. I can't quite. Yeah.
Ah, fuck that. Right, okay. Well, I'm standing by it. If I made a mistake with that, I apologise. But I'm saying that they are. Right, fuck it. I'm saying that they are. So, I mean, we're in completely different situations here because you're involved in a proper team, and I'm financially anyway a one-man band. So, what is the backup plan if you? I mean, touch wood, nothing serious, but for whatever reason, are just not there for a year.
Sorry, I was googling where gold are from, but didn't fucking get it.
get
Basically,
the serious stuff done.
yeah. So there's sort of two elements that the way I see this question is two elements. We do a lot of work at our festival around key person risk. So all big companies, and not that I'm calling us a big company, but if you go to a big company, they all have key person risk, which basically means if like Steve Jobs doesn't turn up to work because he's been hit by a bus, do the wheels come off the company, or do we keep it all running? And so all companies think about that, and I think it's particularly important during the festival. If somebody was ill, or let's say my child was ill, I'd be going to my child, not running a festival. That you've at least adequately documented your job so people could pick it up, and people know, like, you know, if we were building the festival and I wasn't there, they'd know who we got the stage off and what the specs were, and I don't know. You basically document it so you can do it all. Now, I think that is easy to do in terms of like building a festival. In terms of the year-round running of a festival, that's almost impossible to write down what you do. And the booking of the lineup is a thing that is very, very difficult. There aren't many bookers in the UK that could book Damnation, and there aren't many bookers in the UK that could book Arctangent, because you might be good at booking, but you don't understand the festival, you don't understand the music. So who knows? I mean, I haven't told Miles this, but if I ever get hit by a bus and like die, then Miles is going to book Arctangent going forward. We have actually had that conversation at our within the festival, but we just never told Miles. He'll be up for it. Thanks, Miles.
Told Miles.
And I told them, don't fucking let Miles book 2000 Trees, though. Let him book Arctangent. We'll get someone else to do 2000 Trees. But the thing is, I don't know. I think for us, there's a team, so the festival would continue, but there might be some key jobs like booking where you needed to outsource, and you've got to go and find. You'd be searching for the right person. Now, I'd be fascinated because you are the head and only honcho. So how do you do that?
Aye. So that, like, it's weird to say like that. And we have informally, but when I say we, Paul and I have informally got that key person strategy nailed, because there's no doubt that Paul knows exactly what it takes to book Damnation, and he has book bands for Damnation years himself. And if you were left with the same amount of money in the pot and you left him and I to book the lineups for Damnation, you'd probably come out the other side with a very similar lineup. I mean, it's like maybe a lot like yourself and Miles, but that's not the major issue here. Because if something did happen to me, or even if I would say, you know what, I'm away to the Maldives for a year, won the lottery. Can you just look after damnation? I don't want to be hit with a bus. I don't want to be dead, right? Let's just say I want a year away from it, but I want damnation to continue. So I'd have no issue at all going to Paul and saying, could you do this job? But I am 100% owner of damnation, and financially, it's all my risk and it's all my reward. Now, you'd be going to Paul and saying, right, mate, can you do this? And he'd say, aye, no bother, I could do that. Aye, but you putting £250,000 on the line, and he'd be like, absolutely not. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? So if I'm not here, it's not like, is Paul able and willing to put on damnation? I'm sure he is, but is him and his family willing to put £250,000 on the line to make the next damnation happen? Probably not, you know. So, it's a tough one, because there isn't this one person comes out of the team, another person comes into the team, because the team, if you're talking about just financially, is just me.
No, yeah, absolutely. But do you know? I mean, this is making me think about dark thoughts that I didn't necessarily want to think about. But I've got a kid and a wife, and you know, you've got children and a wife, and obviously, I've spent 17 years building this business. It is worth something. So you know, and if I was to die tomorrow, she would own it. She would own my bit of it. So she ain't going to book you a good post-metal lineup, I can tell you that. So she wants me to have, she needs me to have a plan in place. Otherwise,
See, we've got that. So Kelly and I have got that vice versa, right? So I own I own the company that I'm a director of, owns damnation, right? So if I was to, I don't know why we keep it to die, but right, okay, we get hit with a bus, and right, okay, so it's Kelly's. So then maybe Kelly has that conversation with Paul or something like, is there something we can't just let this go, because right, it's worth something. As a company, we're turning over hundreds of thousands of pounds. It is worth something, but Kelly's not going to book you a black metal festival and a death metal festival. I mean, and likewise, she owns a salon. She actually owns the building. I mean, and runs a salon. So I am not going to go and do a balayage again. I mean, you're not going to get braids done with me. So you're a bit like you're in that space where you need to go and say, right, okay, what are we doing with this? I mean, I suppose the easiest option with damnation would be you just try and sell on, but then that in itself's not that simple either. You know what I mean? It'd be you definitely a cut price deal.
The lineup I put together for you last week, I think there's a clear candidate here for.
Mate, I think I'm going back to Leeds. Mate, it was a fun lineup, and I tell you, when they first went out, and people heard my lineup, like, fuck me, man. James needs to give Gav a stage. That's cracking them off, Gav. They're brilliant. Pig Destroyer would be great in the afternoon night. And I was like, yes, James, you're hearing this, son. This is it. Now there's levels to this game. And then just before I came onto the podcast, I seen at least 3 or 4 comments going, James's third stage is my dream. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. There's always somebody in there. There's always someone.
To be honest, I didn't say this last week, but the only reason I picked all those bands is so that I get to start lording it over you. Basically, when you keep telling everyone I've nicked all your ideas, and I was like, right, I'm gonna fucking really try here. So he's got to nick some of them.
When Moontooth arrive at damnation, you can take all the blame.
That was the one wild card. But just going back to Thomas's question, because I do think there's a chance we've misunderstood it slightly, because I also think he's not necessarily even talking about like death, it's just retirement or whatever. Is there a future beyond us running it? And to be honest, I don't really care. I don't want to think about it. I like living in the moment. I haven't got a 5-year plan. I definitely haven't got a 15-year plan. And like, so I'm not grooming. We've got some brilliant staff over here actually, and there are people learning to do lots of jobs that we used to do as organisers, but the idea of like passing on the torch is not really in our heads at the moment. So,
yeah. And you know it's odd, because so Damnation started with a team of like a ragtag team of like 10 folk, and by year 3 we had a team of about 4 folk, and then by, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago it was myself and Paul, and that's the way it's been. And then I genuinely thought, when I retired from journalism to do just this, it was a case of me just being all over everything. I mean, just trying to do everything. And what I've realised, oddly, is you need people. You're not going to be the production manager who somebody else experienced. So we brought on Marius, who also works with Outbreak, and he's brilliant. I mean, Paul had done that for so long that they got to an arena, and Paul's like, I don't want this. I don't want this level. I mean, I'm a psychologist. I fucking deal with prisoners. No, I mean, I don't deal with backline for arena-sized bands. We fudged it to this point, but let's not have this all fall down because we've been so either ignorant or arrogant and tried to do a job that we're not qualified to do. So Marius came on board, and we're bringing on a woman, Angela, this year, who you might know. We met her at Art Tangent last year in the VIP area to help us with advancing. So it's just not a case of, I was finding last year that when we were really needing to sell tickets and we really needed to ramp up the marketing, and I should have been, me and Bri should have been at it with more graphics and engaging more and trying to get stuff out, that I was dealing with riders and IKEA tools and just nonsense. Absolute. I don't mean nonsense. I mean like stuff that was not. It was not productive to selling more tickets. It was just I was wasting my time doing jobs with riders that other people. I mean, and without a joke, I mean, 200 people volunteered to do in the last year. And we've always like, but you bring other people on, and you can have you get that control thing, and you're handing over something, and you're like, but we've done that with Marius, and it was a screaming success. So let's see how it goes with Angela in a paid position for her to come in and do some of the work there. And maybe we should build this out a wee bit. And then we've got Callum now in helping with some of the digital marketing, with some of the adverts you're seeing. And it's daft that it took me to retire and give myself all these extra hours to do Damnation to realise that what I needed was professionals in each of those fields to come in and help us with it.
I mean, that's totally my vibe. But like, basically, when we started, if you'd asked me how do you make a successful festival, I would have said do everything yourself. And like even training to be a security guard or pulling pints on the bar. And now what I would say is work out what are the things that are going to make your business successful and concentrate on those. Like booking a lineup basically is the number one.
Yeah.
Concentrate on that and get someone else to do the advancing, and someone who's probably more definitely better at it than me anyway. So I think, yeah, I mean, we've now got 4 full-time staff members at 2000 Trees, never mind all the like organizers and the people that own the business. So I think, yeah, have it specialize, and it's good to think, have some time to fucking think rather than just be swamped with stuff.
Aye, signing contracts. Well, when we laughed earlier to the first guy's question, when we kind of dismissed that, about to the point of asking to get through to contracts. Well, I think James had mentioned in the previous, you just don't sign contracts. And to be fair, I mean, I'll sign the contracts where somebody's chasing me, but I mean, it's not something you should boast about or something, but it's on. I don't even know if there's any contracts been signed for this year's Damnation, and there's been plenty of Damnations that happened that contracts were never signed, and ultimately, as I said previously, I'm not sure what value those contracts have because they're completely leveled towards the band. And if the band pulled it anyway, like what recourse have you got? Almost none. So, aye, that's why we kind of laughed a wee bit at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck your contracts.
Andrew Ferguson is asking, have you ever had a band hold you hostage by demanding more money just before their set? And if so, how did you handle it? There's a rumour, and this is a rumour that's been going about forever, that Walls of Jericho did this in Glasgow. I'd like to find out once if that's just urban myth and legend, or that did actually happen, and what the result was. Because it's one of these ones I've heard that a million times. So, I mean, in an extent that maybe that's never happened at our level, where a band has said, oh, you better give us another grand, I'm not going on. But have you ever had any demands where a band have said, well, you better sort this for us or else we're pulling out? On the day?
Only production things in the advancing process. So within the weeks running up to the festival, I've had agents ring me basically say, I don't understand the technicalities of this, but I don't fucking care about the technicalities. My tour manager tells me that this isn't good enough. This PA spec is not to our spec. Make this problem go away. And they tell you in such a way that you want to go and spend some money and make it go away. So that is, I guess, that's fine, actually. That's part of the industry. That never happens anymore to us. It used to happen. The last time that happened to me was probably 2009. In terms of people demanding more money, no, there is I would love to tell this story, but I can't because it's someone else's story to tell. There is a very well-known band that did this to a very well-known festival in the last few years. They literally on the day demanded more money or they weren't going to play. I just think it's a wild thing to do. And no one's ever done it to me. And to be honest, mostly bands are the good guys. I can't really imagine bands that are at Trees or Arctangent doing that. I don't know. Have
No.
you had anything like this,
I
guy?
mean, definitely not. I mean, I'm just not that guy anyway. I mean, that would just that's a non-starter. I would, even if I had 6,000 people waiting for the headliner to go on, and it was a case of give us £50 more, we'll do it. I still wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because it would eat me for years and years after. I would rather have a fight in the car park with the drummer than hand over £50. So no, it hasn't. But I mean, what you were saying about advancing. I mean, like, you got a band like Cameron Ra, they tell you, we don't have that projector and that big bed sheet. We are not going on the stage. And that is their absolute right. That is their absolute right. That is what they do. That is their show. They expect it to be. And as you're a promoter and you're doing your job right, you can't book a band promising something and not deliver it. So whether you think, why are you using the bed sheet when we've got the cinema screen, it's really none of your business. It's the band saying, this is how we like to present our art and this is how we're going to do it. And if you want us and you're going to pay this much money, you better deliver it. And that's completely fair enough. So, I mean, I think
Yeah,
almost every
agreed.
band of a certain level's got this is what we need. We'll use this drum kit. We need to use this projector. We need rolling risers, whatever it is. And if a video, I mean, you get your like, who's your big synth rave? Is it Carpenter Brute? The one that uses
Yeah,
the full screen? I mean,
yeah,
like, he's not showing up and the screen's not there and saying, I'm just going to walk on stage. Like, no, that's integral to my entire performance, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and that's completely fair.
And you've got to kind of work that out. And I'm actually having a conversation about backline at the moment with a band that's playing Arctangent. And I told one of my team to message you and ask
Yes.
what you did at let's not mention the band name. To ask you what you did at Damnation. And there feels like there's different rules for you and different rules for me at the moment, where we're being asked to provide significantly more than you did provide for that band in terms of backline.
All right.
And then that's quite annoying because, like, it's going to cost me a few £1,000. It didn't cost you any money. So I'm like, that's frustrating because that band are like really fucking being like, no, we want it. Give it
Yeah.
us. We want
Yeah.
that backline. The exact backline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I maybe, because obviously you've not been privy to that conversation, I think it maybe we had that backline there. You know what I mean? So we did pay, but maybe we were able to share it or something. We're getting into a private conversation in the middle of a podcast.
You're thinking, why the fuck has he brought this up? Sorry,
I know.
everybody.
Whoa, we're
I
tangent that
suddenly
was.
thought me and Gav were down the pub. Shall I ask you a new question to
Hi,
move us somewhere else?
please, let's get off
This
this
is a good
quickly.
one. I like this question. David Murphy says, would love to know what other odd things you've ended up buying rather than renting in each year. I've got 250 metal stakes and 1 kilometre of plastic barrier fencing in my garage from our events. So yeah, that's what
So,
David says.
I'm getting this guy seems to run a car rally, which is why he probably has those stakes and his tape. So, I can understand. I mean, fortunately for us, before Manchester, you're just whatever stock you're bringing back up the road. That my wife would rather just went in a big skip. I mean, like thousands of pounds of t-shirts, so I just bin them. Like, no, I'm not binning them. So they're staying here. And then obviously the IKEA towels, the infamous IKEA towels, and then wee bits and bobs, but not a lot. And then from when we moved to Manchester, the whole point of Manchester, my dream with Manchester was making the festival look and feel like Damnation. We could do nothing in Leeds production wise. So when we got to an arena, we spent thousands and thousands on what's called scrims. Those huge big banners that go up the side, at both sides of the main stage, and a big, I think it's like 17 metres long, Damnation across the main. It's fucking wider than most houses on the main stage and the second stage. And then we spent thousands more on 65 of those photographic fence panels. So going down the years on the different shots we had for photographers were put on the fence panels. And we've got bits and bobs. You see the Damnation, the bit where you can get pictures, like, was reminiscent. It's a cheap version of your that ATG with the lights. But it gives people like a focal point when they come in and get a picture of where they're at. So all that kind of stuff, the banners, all that kind of stuff. Thankfully, Pins and Knuckles, the heroes at Pins and Knuckles in Margate, they take away the excess stock and all those banners and they store them in in their factory in Margate, because that's not optional to go up. I mean, those huge big fucking things, I mean, they fill your loft, they don't just sit in your loft. So thankfully those heroes deal with that. And then we get we get weird stuff like 2 pint steins that we have made. The damnation steins came, some of them came back up the road, much to my wife's annoyance. And we make we do these wee like glasses for the bands, and then we get my mum will put like usually like a cricket machine you call it, and you put the band's logo on the glasses, and so when they go in the dressing room, they can have glasses that are a bit of plastic. But you know what? I've done that for 2 years now for a lot of the bands, and never even had a thank you or even a nod towards a thank you. So that's not happening in 2024. Nobody's getting a fucking glasses. You can use your plastic cups, and that'll be the end of it. So, aye, that's the kind of weird shit that we end up coming back up the roadway. What about yourself? I mean, you guys get fucking truckloads of stuff, don't you?
Well, it is literally a truckload. We own a lorry. So, we own, like, it's called an Arctic trailer. So it's like a 40-foot long trailer, like you see on those big lorries on the motorway. We own the trailer, and it's the packing of it is like a work of art in a very like random, haphazard way, because we're all so tired. So we do it. So basically, the trailer is currently at Arctangent. In May, it will go to 2000 Trees. We'll unpack it. We'll use a bunch of it. It'll get packed up again. It'll go to Arctangent, and then we'll unpack it and pack it again. So the last time we pack it in the end of August, everyone's broken. But we always leave ourselves little. I was thinking about this yesterday, actually. We leave ourselves little surprises. So like cans of beer and boosts, and curly whirlies, and so when you open the lorry and it's like hell in there and it's a mess, at least you find a curly whirly and a pint of lager.
Get you through.
They're out of date, but so we have got all sorts of shit on that. But it's like kitchen stuff, office equipment, because it's a big operation for us. We're there for 2 weeks. We've got about 100 people at 2000 Trees with us on site. So it's all like, kitchen. I mean, we own loud hailers in case there's a power cut, like so you can shout at the crowd.
Yeah.
We own picnic benches, fridges, tools, loads of stuff. I asked our team today to tell me what crazy stuff they've got, and Dan, who works for us, he's got a post rammer currently in his dining room. A post rammer is like a petrol-driven thing that sends a post into the ground, basically. And my brother pointed out that we've got kids soft play on. So at some point, all the organisers started having kids, and now we've got soft play on our lorry because
not the band
in setup. It's not for the bands; it's for the kids, because they're all there at various times, and got to keep them entertained. So yeah, I don't know. There's and obviously towels. The towels are all in Sarah's attic. So everyone kind of goes home with a little bit each, and then there's a lorry full of stuff, which I think we're trying really hard not to make that 2 lorries, but it feels like that is going to end up being.
It's going that way, and so you've got somewhere to keep the lorry between the festivals, so like between the 2 farm sites, they allow you to have the lorry sitting there. That's for these points.
It just sits there on the farm, basically. So yeah, and we've also at 2000 Trees got a barn full of stuff as well, like of site decoration and all sorts of random swing ball, and we do lots more site decoration, outdoor signs and stuff, big stuff at 2000 Trees, and that's all stored at Upcote Farm. So it's a lot of shit you accumulate over the years.
Right. Well, whoever the guy that asked that question, be happy with your couple of spikes, mate.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fucking riot. Nathan Martin, in light of Brexit, have you noticed it becoming any harder to book international bands due to visa requirements, additional costs, or any issues with organising the festival in terms of getting equipment, transport, compared to pre-Brexit? How much has it impacted your job as a promoter in general?
I mean, well, it's 100% true to say that bands are coming to the UK less often than they were before Brexit. It's 100% true that bands are finding it harder to squeeze a UK festival into a weekend of festivals. Tom Taff on his The Agent Strikes Back podcast, he explained that better than I can. The borders are so slow, you cannot get in and out. You can't come from Belgium to the UK and do back-to-back shows. So it's fine not to get into the rights and wrongs of Brexit. We're not a political podcast, and me and Gav have never had a political conversation. But it is certainly
Brexit
true.
was shit. Okay, that's my political take.
Look, it's certainly true that the live music industry was forgotten in whatever deal they may or may not have made. There wasn't a live music industry part of it at any point, I don't think, and we really are still feeling the effects of it. And there are less bands, particularly American bands, but also from the rest of the world, coming into the UK to tour. They're coming less often. Tom told you all about that. So look, it is harder. And I don't really know what the future looks like. We talked about this last time on the Cancelled Festivals episode. It's like COVID and Brexit have had a big impact on the festival industry. Anyone who says that's not true is just wrong, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, listen, it's not a political podcast, but someone, please tell me that we're getting cheap Australian pork or something. Tell me one goddamn, because all I know from what I see is I went to Tenerife and get charged 40 or 50 quid in roaming charges I never got. I went to Norway last year and spent fucking an extra hour on a queue for a non-EU resident. I mean, we book bands now from France and they're asking for paid permission, paid engagement, paid performance engagement letters, which I'm about like, don't even know what that really is, but we're producing them to say that we're signing them to say we're inviting this band from France to come into the England to play music. When they go into the borders, we're getting different stories back every time a band arrives. Like, what wasn't needed, that was needed. Some border people think it would need to be a visa to come in for Europe. Some people are saying you still don't need anything. It's an absolute shit show. And all we know for absolute certain, slowed the whole process down. It's made bands less willing to come here, definitely more expensive, even by Tom Taft's example of it. You need to lose a tour day. That is still a day where you need to go get hotels, or a day in your bus, or a day with your driver, and a day that you're not making any earnings. You're not selling merch. You're not doing what you should be doing. So, aye, I hope your cheap Australian meat was worth it, because the promoters have been royally fucking screwed over, and it's weird you say that, because surely it shouldn't have affected American bands. American bands, well, that was still the same. It's not like we left America to fucking sit in our own wee island. But even the American bands, like, it's still a bit of a fucking hassle coming in here, because it just seems to have just mixed up everything, and everybody's got a sour taste in their mouth about touring the UK and the costs involved.
Yeah. So it's pretty grim, really. All in all, I think.
Good.
So,
Did you pick any cheeky questions? I give myself a nice glass of ale to come and have a bit of fun, and then the next thing I know, I'm talking about Brexit.
Okay, well, this is a good question. I think this is the last question we've got, actually. Peter Gillespie says, what are your thoughts on having unannounced artists on your respective bills, mystery bands or special guests that appear perhaps higher up the bill, but you don't reveal who they are? So Peter managed to squeeze into a tent at Bloodstock a few years back to see Machine Head, who were one such example. The tent was rammed, and trying to figure out who the band were beforehand was kind of fun. So mystery bands, are they good for building up intrigue and a bit of promotion, or are they a gimmick?
Okay. I love the whole mystery band and the secret slot thing. I mean, the famous one was Metallica back at, was it Download 2004 when I played in the second tent. So that was the driver for me to go and join the Download forums back then, because I was like, shit, I missed it. I never knew anything about Metallica playing there, and only found out. I think I was watching like Evanescence, or what was the crazy band that the guy for the Prodigy was in for like a day or two. Fucking, they were playing that year as well, and no one was in the field watching. Like, where'd everybody go? They're fucking watching Metallica in another tent. You know what I mean? So I like it. And after that, it built up suspense, and I think I had Funeral for a Friend in it one year, and it's fine as a marketing thing if you could do it. If we sold out Damnation the day the tickets went on sale, we would book a wee secret slot for sure, because it's a bit of fun. It drives up a bit of buzz. I don't have any insight into the Machine Head situation at Bloodstock. My feeling, without knowing any of the details of it, was Machine Head and the Monomarth had a European arena tour, which I don't think was selling that well. and Amon Amarth done a surprise set at Vakin, and Machine Head done a surprise set at Bloodstock. And I feel that was probably to drive attention towards those bands and help with I could be completely wrong, but I don't see another reason for it. I mean, why all of a sudden just have a band like Machine Head who would headline your festival? In fact, Machine Head have now, for whatever reason, they've done a bit of Slayer and stopped playing festivals for 5 years, and they've came back now they're like headlining festivals and festivals we could never have headlined before, like Hellfest. So I think that was just to drive a bit of attention towards them. Otherwise, the reason that I wouldn't do it without selling out Damnation in advance is because we absolutely need that marketing power. There is no way you would have a huge band on your bill and have the luxury not to announce them. Unless the tickets were already gone and you're a bit like surprised and everyone gets it. Because not selling those extra 1,000 tickets is not an option.
Yeah. I mean that's for me. It's a big no for me. I like selling tickets. Like we put in
I
such
like
a big
selling
risk.
tickets.
Yeah, it's such a big risk running a festival that you can't be having like big bands that are secretly on the bill. It just doesn't really work. Also, as a festival goer, and that really, I'm still a big festival goer, and that's how I think. When I think about running festivals, I try to think as a punter, not an organizer. And to be honest, I just find it annoying. I wasn't actually at Download the year Metallica did that thing, but if I'd missed Download, it would have ruined my weekend. Like if I'd missed Metallica, sorry, it would have ruined my weekend. Like missing that Secret Metallica set, it also totally screws over all the other bands that are on at the same time. And the vibe just doesn't sit right with me. Even though one of my favorite festivals is Roadburn, and they love a bit of that like random secret stuff going on.
Yeah.
As we record, Roadburn is actually on now, and I just saw them post this afternoon saying, "Here's our first secret set of the weekend." It's like I love that festival, but just tell me who's playing, please. And
I'm going to see.
I've done it a couple of times as a promoter. Like I think we did it with Frank Turner once at Trees because he was going to do a smaller set in a tent, but we were worried about capacity. And I was trying to remember today why we did it with Insolvich from Afar that year, where they played.
Yes.
We didn't announce it until the day you arrived. It was on the Clash Finder, but no one knew until then. I can't actually remember why, because there must have been a good reason, because it's just like a bonkers thing not to want to shout about the band. So ultimately, it doesn't really sit with me, the whole secret set thing. I don't really like it. I get that some people do, but I just think people like we're going to announce we're going to release Clash Finders for both festivals, and people are going to get excited about who's playing, not who's not playing, or who might be playing.
They do have the potential to. They definitely have the potential to lead to people just getting completely carried away as well. I mean, it's
going to be Tool. It's going to be Tool.
It goes straight to Tool. It's definitely Tool are coming to play the third stage at Art Tangent. No. There is some wild stuff, and then you feel like, oh well, you're never living up to that. You're never living up to whatever somebody's wild imagination. I think again, I've got no insight to this, that the Metallica situation was similar to they would have had a contract somewhere else playing another event in the UK, and it was a case of Download could get their hands on them, they could do a secret set, and that's what happened. And likewise with Machine, why wouldn't Bloodstock announce Machine Head and have them at the top of their poster if that was? And I'm sure they got a decent deal on the other side. I mean, Machine Head are not coming to you and saying they want a full fee if you can't announce the fact they're playing. You know what I mean? There has to be some give and take. So, my guess is that was a bit of a marketing, not a stunt, because at the end of the day, it's not like they were trying to con anyone, but it was a marketing ploy.
100%, yeah. I mean, it was in some way. It was something PRE, wasn't it? Basically for Machine Head. Just like even Metallica are not immune from doing that. You know.
I
mean, Iron Maiden must have been well pissed off. They're headlining the main stage, and everyone was talking about Metallica.
I mean, that is definitely a talking point, because that you come away from something like that and everyone's talking about the thing. Oh, were you there? And everyone else is going, you bastard. Now, a similar thing, although not in the same context, was the National, who are one of my favourite bands. They were headlining Connect Festival in Edinburgh, and I went to see the National headline. Earlier in the day, they went to Frightened Rabbits singer. What was his name again? Scott.
Yeah.
So his
yeah,
charity, tiny changes, and they had this wee tiny gazebo. I mean, literally enough space for like two adults on it, and people sitting in this wee garden. It was beautiful. And I watched a couple of bands doing a wee acoustic, and they came surprise set and came out and done About Today and another couple of tracks. And I tell you what, that would have made my entire weekend. I mean, just to see them, see the National play to 50 people and do that acoustic would have been absolutely great. And I found out later that day, before I got to see them like on stage to, I don't know, 25,000 people, that they'd done this. And yet they couldn't have done it any other way. You couldn't announce it, obviously, get 25,000 people trying to get into a garden that takes 50. But at the same time, it was like, you came up with my whole thing with that weekend was like, I could have seen the National with 50 people doing About Today, you know what I mean, for Scott Hutchison. And I didn't. I mean, Frank Rabbit, one of my favourite bands as well, and it would have been absolutely spectacular. But I get what you mean. It's probably not like for like, but that's what about it. Talking about it.
have a big old sneeze there, Gav. Yeah, I mean, I think if basically for me, the days of festivals selling out miles in advance are probably gone. So I think things will, you know, I'm hoping both our festivals will sell out this year, but I don't think we're going to sell out that early. So that just takes this out of it just makes me be like, nah, unannounced artists, no, thank you.
that's not going to happen. So and maybe one day if we're selling out our festivals in advance. Right before I start sneezing, fit then you want to get a quick on the record and wrap this one up?
Yeah. We've had some great questions there. So thanks everyone. That was a good chat. So I'm going to recommend a band called Love Sex Machine. They are on Pelagic, one of my favorite labels. They are playing Arctangent. My relationship with Pelagic is that basically Robin from that runs the label. He's also the main guy in the Ocean. He basically just sends me bands all the time, and he's like, "You're gonna fucking love this band," and he gives me his pitch, and he's super enthusiastic, and I'm always like, "Yeah, this is gonna be great." And he sent me Love Sex Machine. He's just like, "You are going to love this. This is amazing." And he sent me their album. I listened to it a couple of times. It was great. I booked them for Arctangent this year, but the album has just come out, so I've only started going deep on it the last week or so, and it is fucking great. And it's a bit different. They're a post metal band, but it's different. It's almost like if Deftones decided to start being post metal. So it's like kind of Chino-ish on the vocals. I don't know how well you know Deftones, but White Pony, the third song on White Pony is called Elite, and it is.
How well I know Deftones. They're one of my fucking favourite bands. Right, I almost got a tattoo of Deftones on my forehead.
But all I mean is, if I say to you, you know Elite off White Pony,
I know Elite. I know Elite. I know everything about White Pony, start to finish.
This is the man who asked me. You've asked me 3 questions on this podcast so far. I didn't know the answer to any of them. Where are Gold from? What's the Frightened Rabbits lead singer's name? It's like we've got to stop asking each other questions. But okay, you do know Elite. Basically, it's Deftones at their head. For anyone unaware, it's Deftones at their heaviest. It's fucking heavy, that song. And this Love Sex Machine is basically that song for an album. It's like post-metal Deftones. It's really, really good. Are we still saying it's an unofficial Pelagic stage at Damnation, or is this a proper announcement? I don't know, but surely
it's up in the air. Fuck knows what's happening with this Friday.
So I know you get a bit annoyed. I never give you a song to put on our playlist, so I've got you a song this week. Okay, it's called Fucking Snakes. It's called Fucking Snakes. It's the first song on this album. It's brilliant. I think once you listen to it, you're going to want to put them on the Damnation stage on the Pelagic stage at Damnation, because it's great. The album's great. Everyone should listen to it.
I absolutely love Elite. And let's not forget, I booked Deftones for the main stage at Tangent. I mean, for fuck's sake, I don't know Deftones, man. I grew up.
Next week, I'm going to test you. I think we should do an episode. We should rank Deftones albums. There you go.
Well, I tell you what, I think we can do it. We can do it. We go toe to toe. We'll start with Deftones and then do Tool. So okay, Magic. Right, that's a good shout. I'm looking forward to that a lot because I really do like Elite. I am going with Battle of Mice, lead singer is Julie Christmas, or was Julie Christmas. Absolutely unbelievably great band. I mean, again, everything Julie Christmas is involved in is unbelievable, but it's post metal, but with the demented vocals. I mean, like if you like Mariner, there's almost no chance that you won't like A Day of Nights, which is the only album they ever put out. I think they might have done a couple of shows in America, but they never got a chance to. She plays. She plays one of the songs in the set that she done in Roadburn and the set she done Damnation. She plays the song Bones in the Water, which is also excellent. But the track I'm picking, Sleep and Dream, I think is the best track on it. And it's just, aye, you can imagine how like almost demented pixie vocals over quite slow building post metal. It's amazing. You're going to love this one also.
Are you cool enough to have been a fan? Were you into them way back, or have you gone back to this since Mariner? Because I don't
No,
know,
no.
I don't know the band really. I know of them, but I've never really listened to them.
No, I was cool, well, let's call me cool enough to. I don't know a bit known at the time when they actually were active. I'm not quite sure what that time period was because it was her and Josh Graham who went on to the band The Storm of Light. So I booked a Storm of Light for Damnation 2009 or 10. So I think it must have just been pre that. So I was aware, and I was aware of Julie Christmas at the time. So I think it was, I may well have got it when they were active, but not in the case of they were having an option to come and play like a Damnation or something like that. The album is amazing. If you like Mariner, you can't not like A Day of Nights. It's, if anything, it's a wee bit more dynamic. There's a bit more to it. I mean, Cult just got that whole bludgeoning Cult sound of that double drums and the big bass, but this is just a wee bit more eccentric, and she's definitely a wee bit more eccentric on it, but probably had a bigger role to play in the songwriting. So if you like Julie Christmas, you like Mariner, you will definitely like when listen to Sleep and Dream when it goes on to this playlist, and that'll be a great starting point.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm going to go and have a listen because I've only very casually listened in the past. So yeah, thanks
The
for
the
that.
playlist, and I see that's I can see the old likes are going on with that too. So people are definitely getting switched onto the playlist and going for that. They're strapping in and going on that journey with us, which is quite a journey between fans and Spanish love songs. So
Yeah, we've got to start getting quite eclectic now, haven't we? So yeah.
yeah, I mean, by there is no way anyone on this planet's listening to that playlist saying I like everything on here. If you like everything on that playlist, you're lying, right? Like it can't, it's not possible. So, aye, great. Listen, we really appreciate you submitting the questions, guys. That was class. Do the usual. Go and follow the page, Spotify, like, subscribe, help the podcast go on. Everything's flying. Love it.
Tell your mates. Tell your mates. Thank you.
Brilliant, big chap. Until next week.